Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps, it is I, your host with the most Renaissance man who always thinks he can, and champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back for another Raw Rewind, and I am joined, as always, by the best of the West. You can't forget about Sara Marshall. Sara, what's poppin', girl?
Hey, yo.
That's how I feel. Also, just letting everyone know, I am sick. So if I look a little, I know. If I sound different, if I look different, if I'm sniffly, I apologize in advance. But yeah, I'm just living the dream, catching a cold. So here I am.
Better to catch a cold than catch these hands.
All right. I've done this so many times though. Like I've been sick and streamed like often. I think I even streamed when I still had COVID. And that was a mistake though. I really did not feel good. But anyway, so yes, please do not mock my voice or the fact that my eyes are pretty squinty. It's just a mess over here. So
yeah, it's a great day. You might be sick, but I think I got a cure for your sickness, and it's not this show. I'm not gonna be that easy with the shameless plugs. Okay. Celtics on tonight. Okay, I know how we talk a lot about wrestling on the show, Patriots here and there, but I'm sorry. The Celtics are top 3 team, a favorite of mine, playing tonight against the Hawks. I got them on TV Bezos over there while I keep an eye on them as we...
It's not until 7:30, right?
That's what I mean. So you just keep it, we're focused in on what happened on Raw because, boy, howdy, Sara.
I have a lot
We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do. And because it's the biggest news of the week and basically all that everyone has been talking about, I just want to jump straight into Triple H unveiling a new championship, which most rumors believe that was what his announcement was going to be last night because it was another randomly planned, apparently, or at least that's how it felt to us, announcement. And of course, it played along the lines of Vince McMahon being involved with the script again. So it had me nervous. But then if people don't pay attention to dirt sheets and whatever, people had been saying that Triple H had approved a new championship. So obviously, if you were there in person, you would have seen it because they did not let you see that he was standing there with like a table. So I was like, oh, maybe that's not what it is. So anyway, so he unveils a new championship, which is basically just bringing back the World Heavyweight title that they retired when they brought in the Universal Championship, which I think has been like 8 or 9 years, which is crazy, isn't it?
Oh, that's weird. Oh, that is weird.
It's like the Universal title was brought in like 2014 or something? I don't remember what it was.
No, it was 2016.
Okay, so
remember watching that. It was crowned on Monday Night Raw.
Well, no,
technically, I'm going after Demon.
Oh, because after forfeiting it, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's been like 7 years, which is crazy. And a lot of people had a lot of things to say. So I wanted to break it down because I have a lot of things to say as well. So first of all, the main thing that people were talking about, and there's been a mixed reaction, I would say, is the design. So I know a lot of people were hoping that they were going to redesign the WWE Championship and bring back the winged eagle. Still possible, I guess, but that's not what this was. People were hoping if they brought back the World Heavyweight Championship that they were going to go back to what it was before. And that's not what they did. But I would say that this definitely pays homage. It's all gold, just like the original. And people had a really big issue with the big WWE in the front. But I feel like the pictures, it looks so much better in the pictures than I feel like it did on Raw.
Yeah, the thing with this title to me is that we're not going to see a WWE championship title without that giant W. It's just
like, it's the promotion.
Exactly. We got to get over it. So that once you get over that, then you can really dive in and see, okay, is this really a good design? And I think it is. It pays homage to the world heavyweight very well, and it's smart on them to do that because you can't just bring it back.
Yeah.
That would be lazy in a sense, but also you got to leave the past in the past. You pay homage to it in other ways, and this is a really good way to do that. I was looking a little bit closer at it today at work, and
Mhm.
what I like about it is that what I saw in the pictures, it felt that it looked a lot cleaner, you know,
Yeah.
the world heavyweight homage on
Yeah.
the outer skirt, of it, which I liked when I saw it in the picture. I'm like, okay, that's nice. But when you see it in TV, I thought it was just the world, like it was crumbled together and then they just slapped on the logo.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once you spread it out and you see it through a wider lens, I am a real fan of the design of it, especially because it's a hell of a lot better than the universal one that they trotted out at SummerSlam.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just like a modern take on what the world heavyweight title may be now if they were to reinvent it. And I think I think that the people having such an issue with the branding in the middle, I understand it because it is such a contrast because it's black over the gold, but not many companies that introduce championships to people would not make sure that their logo is not front and center and clearly seen. I mean, look at what they did when they reinvented the WWE championship. It was just a giant bedazzled W. So like
Giant W.
yeah, and I think that's the thing that people are forgetting too is that although we're going to talk about it, but this is now going to be the supposed to be the equal title on one of the shows now. So they're going to have to make it look pretty grand because it's going to be competing with the giant bedazzled W, and you wouldn't want it to look subpar. You wouldn't want it, and I feel like not that the world heavyweight of old would look that way, but it definitely wouldn't look equal to like how crazy and modern the WWE championship looks like. And I feel like this incorporates what the intercontinental title looks like with the WWE title with paying homage. Like it's just a good mix, I feel like.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree.
So then we also had let's talk about Richard says people who hate the WWE logo on the belt also think the AAW belt looks great. I don't know what the AAW belt looks like, so I'm not sure.
Oh, I love the AEW belt. Okay, the AEW belt is a lot of gold. It's more of an oval type
Yeah.
of belt, and it's
So he's
AEW
basically
on
just saying they're hypocrites, is what they're saying. He's
like
saying.
kind of, but like I don't know. I like it. It's there's a lot more gold and jewels on the AEW, and now that MJF has the Triple B with a Burberry belt,
Yeah.
it's I mean, it, I still think AEW has the nicer. Oh, they're not gaudier. I don't know how to describe it. Like they just it looks more like a professional wrestling championship, where this just looks like a WWE. You know what I mean?
I
Like, and
guess.
I don't mean that in a negative or positive. That's just a
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah. So I wanted to also talk about the explanation that we got from Triple H about this because although it's been rumored that this was going to happen, most of us that knew about the rumblings of this taking place believed that there was going to be some sort of way for them to introduce this around Mania, whether they were going to have Roman lose one championship and this was a way for them to kind of split it and then redesign it. And I thought that this was an interesting way to present it. So I felt like Triple H went a little kayfabe straight
Oh,
from the gate.
kayfabe is you have to buy into kayfabe for
It was
this
like,
explanation. Like,
yeah. So he goes into talking about Roman and how he, did his work and earned his right to rework his contract so that he doesn't have to show up as often, nor does he have to defend his title as often. And what I thought was interesting about that aspect, like I'm breaking down small aspects of what
No, oh,
of
I
what he
think
talked
our
about.
peeps need to hear it.
So that part struck me immediately because it was one of the very first things that he said. And a lot of people took it as him burying Roman. I don't think that's the case. In my
No.
opinion, this was him burying Vince in a way. This is a shot at Vince because he's the one who has okayed part-time champions over the last few years. He okayed it with Brock Lesnar, he's okayed it with Roman Reigns, despite the outrage from the fans or the networks of, a USA Network and Fox having issues with no champions. And Vince left Triple H to have to deal with this because I mean, we're going to talk about this in a second, once we move on to the next part, but the timing of this is bizarre. Trying to figure out how this is going to work is bizarre. So to me, although people like myself complain about the fact that Roman's not around, I think this was more of a shot at Vince, but an interesting tactic by Triple H to address it because we all are thinking it. Even if you are the biggest Roman Reigns fan there is on the planet, you can't sit there and say you don't recognize that he's never around and that
Oh yeah,
he's a part-time
that's a
champion.
fact of life.
Yeah. So did you feel that way or did you think it was a shot at Roman?
No, I thought it was I thought it was not more like a shot. It felt like to me that, a little kid making up a story of why he did something when it's just as simple, it's in the pudding, essentially. What I saw from it was them trying to resurrect kayfabe in a way where you make Roman this just mythological like figure who just does not lose. Like he just cannot lose. It doesn't like to Brock, to Cody, to Sammy and KO, it doesn't matter. And this is now the new season, the new era of WWE with Triple H. And the way you start things off by introducing new things. So to me, I didn't think it was a whole shot at them burying Roman, saying that he's the part timer. To me, it just felt like, all right, well, we have this problem and we have to be as creative as hell to fix it. And oh, we have a draft coming up. Well, okay, there's an easy way to do it, and then we can make up any story that we want because it's wrestling and the people will buy it. Kind of did, and then it will move along the story and it will give us I mean, I'm kind of teasing the Seth part a little bit, but
Yeah, not
for him to
y-
well, I'm gonna save it, but the
yeah,
whole
yeah.
point of like for that to come out to happen right after it, it it, it already makes it a little bit more prestigious.
I know. We'll talk about that. I make that a
Yes,
point.
but I want to tease that.
Um so I want to talk about two part of what you said about how Triple H mentioned that other than the fact that Roman's like a part-time champion without saying it. I mean, he kind of said it. I don't know if he actually said the words part-time, but um I felt like the intention was clear, but the fact that he had to say all of this to lead up to, we're introducing a new championship. A lot of people felt like this has become a consolation prize for those who couldn't beat or who they don't deem to be good enough to beat Roman or to even have a match with Roman. And to a certain extent, I agree because that's how he presented it. That's not even just assuming that like you said, that he's this figure that can't be beaten and he's just this and this and that. It was also like, oh well, Roman is the champion and he's been champion for a long time and he's taken down a lot of people and it looks like none of you could beat him, so here's another championship that you guys can try and compete for. That was basically how he presented it. And so I feel as exciting as it was to add another championship, because then you will have a champion on probably Raw every single week. That does kind of make it like peg it down a little bit. And so
Yeah,
that
I was.
brings in like what you said about Seth, though, is the fact that they had him come out and he immediately hyped up the championship. And even though it was brief, I felt like that did a really good job of building it, because I feel when Triple H was done and he was leaving, most of the reaction was not positive. Most of it was like, "Oh yeah, like here's your like sticker for like good job." Like, like you get a
You
you get
got in
a
the ring with Roman Reigns.
yeah, and I think that him making it a point to talk about it, Seth, I mean, definitely got people more excited about it, and felt like it did have more meaning.
I do not think of it as a consolation prize at all. What I see it as is it's made like I mean, I'm just going off what Seth said, so jumping
Yeah.
ahead, but still, I see this going to be the next WWE type title, like the title everyone wants to fight for. And it's going to end up with Roman Reigns because he doesn't defend it, because he doesn't, he'll show up to maybe a pay per view every 3 months. They're going to, I don't know if it's, in the writing or it's the actual people, but they might bully him into that being the consolation prize. Because look at what they're doing every week. Like, for instance, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, Gunther would really, that's made for Gunther. Like the
I
way they're
know.
the
It's
way they're
because it
hyping
looks
up,
like
like
the Intercontinental a lot.
it
Yeah.
literally does. That's what. So I'm
Yeah.
like, this is made for Gunther, and if it's made for Gunther, that means that he's going to defend it every week. And one thing that I will give Trips a little bit of credit on, not a little bit, a lot more than that, but credit about is that yeah, he did kind of hold the heavyweight title a little hostage during his reign of terror era, but at least he fought almost every week.
Well,
He was
and
there,
and
and
that's a
with that,
thing that people forget. Like someone mentioned it, how often back in the Attitude Era, or even during like Ruthless Aggression and after that, like the 2010s, how often was the WWE Championship defended on Raw? It happened all the time. And I understand that things change, and maybe, like we have talked about, that Vince really liked to have the biggest matches on the premium live events.
Mhm.
And that's why he's been saving them. But I don't think that's the greatest way to go either, because they have the women defending the title on Raw and SmackDown. They have Gunther doing it on Raw and SmackDown. So it's
Yeah.
like people would love to see a main event be a defense of one of the titles, and I couldn't even tell you the last time we saw that on Raw. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. So I think that would be cool to bring that back too, because that was, again, commonplace. Like the champion used to be on Raw and SmackDown. The champion used to be on every pay per view. The champion was defending it multiple times in a month. Like it's
Yeah.
not necessarily what has to happen right now, but going from a consistent champion to someone who shows up like once a month, if that, is crazy.
It just makes no sense to me. Why? I don't know. I'm kind of just over the fact that once they introduce it, now it's like, all right, now what's the point of like, let's just end the bloodline story. Now the
Yeah,
story doesn't even. No,
let's
no,
get
no,
into
no,
that in this. We'll get into
no, no,
that
no.
in a
But no,
second.
no. You
Yeah.
hold on. Let me, because
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not
Okay.
going
Okay.
there. What I'm
Okay.
saying is that the bloodline felt like for a while that it all revolved around his titles and his championship
Yeah.
reign and all that.
Right.
Where now, if you introduce this, to me, those titles, that's not the WWE title right now.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's the bloodline, holier than thou title of a name. He's the
Mhm.
undisputed Universal Champion Tribal Chief, and it's
Mhm.
Roman Reigns who holds that title.
Yeah.
Like, and to me, this really just put that line down the middle, separating WWE programming right now and the bloodline.
Yeah. Good point. I want, before we keep going, I want to
Yeah,
just
we
get
have a
into
lot
some
of, oh, what's up,
comments.
science guy?
I
I'll
know.
get
So,
through it.
Sean says that's why it is hilarious when Paul Heyman told Cody how busy his schedule will be if he were to beat Roman at Mania. It was like, really, dude, Roman is never here. Exactly. It's like, this is the hardest working man. No, he's not. He's sitting at home constantly vacationing. Like, because people are like, he's earned his time off. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve time off, but when you think about this, right, like a part-time champion has become a thing as of the last few years, because when did you ever hear about Randy Orton taking time off as champion? When did you ever hear about John Cena taking time off as champion? CM Punk. Like, none
You
of
don't
these
take
dudes.
time off as champion.
Huh?
You don't take time off of champ.
Exactly.
It's oxymoron.
Especially as a double champion. You know, if he was just the universal champion, there we would have an argument, right? Like, it's like, okay, at least he just has one. But he's, like I said, he's literally holding the championships hostage. Like, it's infuriating.
Ridiculous.
El Tiburon. Sorry if I said that wrong. He said, I can't imagine that
wrong.
Roman will simply let what Triple H and Seth Rollins said just go unanswered. I think this sets up a new story. Possibly. I thought so too. I was like, because it felt like it was teetering on reality and script, it felt like I wouldn't be surprised if Roman just came out and said some shit. Like,
Yeah.
because they kind of, you know, took a shot at him. Richard says he hates the consolation prize argument. Yeah, I get it. I think that initially it's just, of course, how we all feel when it happens. And then once you have, like, you know, time to sleep on it and to really digest it, then your mind kind of changes. Like, sometimes I end up deleting tweets that I sent because I'm like, you're overreacting. Shut up.
Yeah.
He also says, I think Triple H's speech will cause Roman to get angry, making Roman request a new belt as well, which could be the winged eagle, which then causes Cody to stay going after Roman. So I have a lot to say about this because you can't just do that, but we'll get into
You
that.
can't just, here's a title. People pre-ordered it, man.
It's way deeper than that. I'll talk about it. Solar says, as much as I want to hate Roman, I watched a Spears compilation before the live. That double spear of the Usos was just legendary. Speaks volumes that nobody has tried to steal his tribal chief title until now. We're going to talk about that later. He also says, look at Bianca, the ultimate fighting champion, in comparison to what Roman is doing, 1,000%. So I did look at how many times he has defended it, and I believe that the list that I saw, they said that over the course of his near 1,000 days that he's defended it 27 times, which, if you think about it, that's barely anything. But then also 27 times in what, over 3 years or something is not that much. That's 36 months. So he hasn't even defended it once a month. But the bigger issue I have is if you look at the list of who he's defended it against, he's defended against Kevin Owens like 4 times. He's defended against Jey Uso twice. He's defended, you know, it's like it's the same people over and over again. So again, it's like, it's not new. It's nothing exciting. It's not like, oh wow, this is the first time we're seeing it. Not to mention, he's not even really defended it against Seth Rollins. So that's another.
Their only match for
It
the
ended in a
title.
DQ.
DQ.
Yeah, and Roman's never beaten him. So since they said, because we have so much to talk about with this, and we're almost a half hour in, but that's just how it goes.
That's how we roll.
So Triple H talked about how they will be crowning a new World Heavyweight Champion at Night of Champions, which was formerly King and Queen of the Ring, which is on May 27th, which happens to be the 1,000 days of Roman's title reign. He did not go into details about how this is going to go. Most assume that it's going to be a tournament of some sort because that's how they've always done it in the past. So do you think that that's what they're going to do? Like, how do you think they're going to go about crowning a new champion? Do you think that's the best route?
A new match.
One match?
A new match, I mean a new type of gimmick match. It's in Saudi. You need to have this.
So you think that they're not going to do anything until the Night of Champions? You don't think they'll do anything on Raw? Okay, that's what I mean. Like, that's how I
they'll
meant.
do qualifiers for it, obviously. And
you know what's kind of weird about this too is, like, they're not going to be able to figure this out until after the draft, because we don't know what show Roman's going to be on, which means, since they said that they are going, basically he said that they are going to have strict rosters again, which is something that they haven't done in like several years.
A long time.
They can't decide who's going to be in these matches until they know what show they're on and or what show the title's on, and then what superstars are on that show. So we believe it's going to be Raw. So it's like we're all speculating about like who should be the ones to go after this championship. Like even in my thumbnail, I put Seth, Cody, Finn, and LA Knight. Those are the ones that a lot of people were talking about. But it's like, but who knows who's going to be on Raw if it ends up going to Raw, you know? So it's going to be interesting to see. But then since it is Night of Champions, don't you think, and I'm concerned about this, especially based off of what Triple H was saying, don't you think that Roman has to be there even more now?
Oh no, like
He
I
has
think
to compete. He
I
has
think
to
our
defend.
minds were blown simultaneously when we figured out it was the 1,000th day. Like
I
if you
know.
don't have Roman Reigns at Night of Champions for his 1,000th day in Saudi Arabia for Night of Champions, then you should like honestly strip him of his titles. There's no reason for him to be champion then. Like,
Because
what
to
do you
me,
think?
that would be a Vince call. That wouldn't be a Triple H
No,
thing.
Vince. No,
But
Vince would still. No. Vince would.
no, Vince would cater to him. Why do you think he's double champion and sitting at home doing nothing for several times, like months throughout his reign? That's the
that doesn't
problem.
put money in their pockets with Roman Reigns
Well,
sitting
and
down.
there's the people who argue that, well, he just looks like a stronger champion sitting at home and taking a vacation. No, he fucking doesn't. That is like the dumbest argument I've ever heard in my life, because no one was saying that about Brock Lesnar, who took months off at a time as champion. No one was saying, oh, well, this just makes him look like a tougher, more elite champion. No, it doesn't. Like, and the worst part about this situation, in my opinion, is that they were trying to build Roman to be this iconic figure of this era and like making him a champion for this long. And now it's ending up he's going to be a double champion for 1,000 days, because it's going to be the easiest thing to be able to say, right? 1,000 days instead of 3 years, whatever, or however long it goes. But having him coast to those 1,000 days, does that not look bad? Like, that's something that people are going to remember, that he was like sitting at home between April 2nd until possibly May 27th. Like, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. We would not be making these exceptions for anybody else. Nobody else would be getting this treatment and people sitting there defending it. Nobody.
No one would want it.
I know, and that's the thing, is like you can like Roman and that's the problem. Like, you can like Roman and still criticize the way that they're doing this. You know?
Yeah, it's not. And from what I've heard, I don't think Roman's gone full crazy heel in the writers' room and stuff. And, I mean, I haven't.
He based his entire rivalry with Brock Lesnar being a part-time champion, and then when he became champion, he put it in his contract to be a part-time champion, says a lot about him, in my opinion. Like, at least when Cena and Rock were going after each other and Cena was like, you were a movie star and you just wanted to go to Hollywood and that's what you are, but WWE is my life. It was like 10 years later until Cena decided he wanted to be a movie star. And he was like in his 40s when he decided to do that. You know what I mean? So it's like you became what you hated, is what I've said before. But like in that situation, it's similar but different. So this brings me to the fallout of this. So since I can't remember who talked about it from the comments that we were just reading, but the biggest question is, what does this mean for Roman's championships? Okay. A lot of people are trying to figure this out, and you have to think about it from this perspective, because I think people are not putting these things together. So the first question is, are they going to unify them? It seems like the most likely scenario. It seems like the thing that would make the most sense, because we don't need 3 world championships in WWE. That's ridiculous. You have 2 shows. You don't need 3, right? But the problem that they run into here is they can't retire the Universal Championship, because that is the reason that Roman will be hitting 1,000 days. So if you take the Universal title away, then his reign is cut and ended, because he won the WWE championship like a year later. So you can't do that. Then no way in hell would they retire the WWE championship, because they've never done that, nor have they should they ever?
You
So
can't
there's
retire a
really,
WWE championship. You can
yeah, you
retire a
can't.
design.
Yeah, like they've retired the world heavyweight before, and like they've retired
That was the
the old
WCW
intercontinental
title.
or whatever. But they so basically they can't unify them, but they also can't call him the undisputed champion because, honey, there's a champion on the other show. So like you're not undisputed. There's a dispute because there's another champion.
Dispute. That
Um
is known.
so it makes it that's the problem that I have with one of the problems that I have with this whole thing is that they should have addressed his double championship a long time ago, even at Mania, before that something, or had someone challenge him for just one championship and win, just the WWE championship, because then they run into this mess where maybe they could unify them and no one would give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like normal, average, everyday people that watch the show that don't go into crazy detail like this. But the history books is what matters. And WWE keep very detailed history books.
I used to look up the stats on WWE.com. I used to read them
Yeah.
all. Yeah.
And so they can't just retire a championship. They can't. I kind of feel like they're stuck now
Oh,
for
they
the
are
foreseeable
stuck.
future.
Yeah, they're stuck in between a rock and a hard place.
And a
It's
lot of
not
that
like
is a Vince thing, because he made Roman double champion to begin with. And then I'm assuming, even more so now, that there were plans to either have Roman lose, to unify them, or to split them. Then Vince comes back in January, says, F this, Roman's staying champion as long as I want him to. He's not losing at Mania. He's hitting those 1,000 days. But all of this is like simultaneously happening as Triple H is already working on a new championship, because these plans were already like happening, because he was like, we need a refresh. We need something. We hate the Universal title, whatever.
it's yeah.
And then it's like, okay, go out and introduce the new title because of this. But it's like, no, it just seems like this wasn't well thought out, in my opinion. Because if I can sit here and figure this all out, why weren't you guys considering all of this? Like,
It's wild to me. Like that's what I'm just sitting here in awe, like thinking it all out, because I didn't think about any of that until you said it. That
mm-hmm.
a part of the 1,000 days
It's the,
is
yep.
Roman as Universal Champion. So if
Yeah.
you retire that, I mean, yeah, you could, like, it is WWE law, so like you could retire it, but then still.
Yeah. And that's why
So
I'm saying, like, it's still a scripted show,
yeah,
but
oh,
like,
that's not what we're arguing.
I
Yeah,
don't know, most people are going to remember that his first championship, which started this reign, was the Universal Championship. So if you were talking about how long he's been WWE champion, that's far shorter. So it's like you couldn't really just try and gloss over it and retire the Universal and act like, oh, it still counts. Like, because not everyone is, like, ignorant. Not everyone is just kind of like la di da, like people pay attention.
oh
So
yeah, way more
it's,
than us.
and then, we kind of talked about this too. And I thought it was interesting. People were talking about this, um, about now that Roman is kind of just like this god figure, basically. Like, he's not real, but he is real, because he's like, you see him and you feel him, but he's not around, like
He's
he's like one of those
omnipresent.
things. Yeah. But do you feel that the titles have almost become like a prop for Roman? Like, it's almost just like now you just assume, Roman's gonna come out with those title belts, but it's like it doesn't feel like it's like as significant because he's never around, and now they're introducing a new one.
I'm gonna make a reference to all the people watching right now. I don't think you, because you won't get it, but the peeps tuning
Okay.
in will definitely get this.
All right.
It feels like the titles are just Infinity Stones in the quantum realm. Like they're just paperweights. They're just, you can whip them around. You have the Mr. Heyman, the wise man, giving him the title, and then he does the whole, and then Pyro goes crazy. It's more of it being part of the show
Hmm.
than part of his lineage. That's
Yeah.
what to me it feels like, just because I mean, how weird did it feel when you saw the Usos walk out without
It
the titles for the first time?
it's still weird.
It's
Seeing it
still
last night
bizarre.
is still weird to me. It
So
is,
that just,
and
yeah,
they were champions a lot shorter than
a lot
Roman.
shorter.
So we did get a couple comments. Richard says, Seth is the perfect choice to be the winner of the new belt, and I can see him competing against Finn in a 2016 rematch for it. That would be, I'm all for that. Finn and Seth are my top two guys right now. Like, you guys don't even understand the joy I had last night seeing Cody versus Finn. I was like,
That's why I was like, we have to talk about it because
we'll talk about it. Soar says they better put Night of Champions at a reasonable US time, but if not, Pitts, we're pulling an all-nighter. I think it's on during the day, isn't it?
It
On at like
is,
2
yeah. I
p.
don't want to. I let Sword just figure shit out for himself when it comes to wrestling. I
Yeah, I
like
think
this stuff like,
it's on at like 3 p.m. for you guys or
oh,
something
it's
like that.
3.
I don't know. I'm saying
Oh,
I'm
I
just
thought
trying
it
to
was
think of
1.
no,
What is
it might be. I'm just trying to think of like, yeah, it might be 10 a.m. my time. I don't remember. I'm just trying to think of
Imagine
like
waking up.
other
That is
um
my dream, Sarah. I know
what
it's a nightmare for you, but
what
I would dream of waking up at 9:30, going to get a coffee and breakfast sandwich, and then coming home, watching a pay-per-view, and then it's like, all right, well, it's 2:30.
yeah.
Let's ride.
That's
I
what's nice
would.
about football season though.
Oh,
Football starts
don't
for me
even.
at 10 a.m.
You guys are spoiled. I
and
hate anyone who makes the argument about the time zones and how it's like, oh, Sunday Night Football gets over at 8 in the West Coast. Like, yeah,
yep,
all right.
I
You know
know.
how lucky that is?
I know. And Soar also says it feels like he's having the trio of the Usos and Solo fight all of his fights for him, other than his occasional title defenses. Yeah, we're gonna get into that because I think that they're adding a little
That's,
bit of
yeah.
spiciness to that right now. And then Richard says they could have the new belt have a new lineage, thus keeping Roman's 1,000 days. That is true. Yeah, because then technically it wouldn't. But then would that? But the thing is don't they still have to retire the other two though? Like, you can't just take those titles off him and be like, "Oh, we're giving you a new one," and these two are just going to sit in the back. I don't know.
I don't know. I
they're gonna figure
freezing.
something out, I assume, but we'll see. And the last part I wanted to talk about, as we're getting into 40 minutes, are the draft implications of this new championship. So Triple H said that wherever Roman Reigns is drafted, he will be taking those championships with him, which means the other show will get the new World Heavyweight Championship. Um, and I think that it's fair to assume Roman Reigns will be going to SmackDown. The new championship will be on Raw because of the outcrying of USA Network over not having a champion on their show consistently. I can't imagine that is going to change. And like you said, they presented it on Raw. They could have presented it during the draft on Friday, and they did not. So I think that's the direction that
They
we're
have a
going in.
championship.
Huh?
They have a championship. The United States Championship on the
It's
United
not
States
it,
Network.
it's I know, but it's not the same prestige. Stop. I mean, so
That's
anyway,
how I would argue with the execs. Like, this is
yeah,
where
but then
I'm the
they would just
dick.
be like, "You're dumb. Go back to
Yeah,
your
this would be,
basement."
you know what it is, Sarah?
Oh.
Yeah.
Just
Woo! All right, you keep. Sorry, I had to
he's
get that
really
out.
proud of that graphic that he made, and that's why he keeps using it.
It is
So
so fucking funny.
it's not funny, but it's
All
okay.
right, it's
I'm glad you
hilarious.
enjoy it.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, we're gonna have a ton to talk about when it comes to this new championship, obviously. Also the draft. We are doing a mock draft tomorrow on the channel because Pat will be gone this weekend. So we will be doing our mock draft tomorrow. I am the Raw GM because Raw is my show. Mr. Pitts over here will be the SmackDown GM. So we will be
SmackDown
doing
is
that.
the people's show.
So I'm excited about that. And I get the first overall pick because I'm Raw. So I know that I get first pick since I don't have a champion.
That's right.
Eh.
You know, because the champ of the peeps is on
Yeah, whatever, dude.
SmackDown. So
So since we've touched on it so much, and then Soar mentioned it as well, let's talk about the bloodline. A whole lot going on with the bloodline. It was all throughout the entire show. It was great that they didn't start the show that was a nice change. It was Cody. I was shocked. I was sitting there just waiting for the Bloodline music to hit, and I hear dun dun, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And my nephew was so excited because he's obsessed with Cody, so that was very exciting that he got to see him. Um, so they had a match, and then post match, the Usos get on the mic. They talk about how they had one bad night at WrestleMania, and they disappointed their tribal chief, and this win was dedicated to Roman. And I'm just like, okay, we're trying to keep the champion like in our, in our thoughts, because you don't want to forget that Roman Reigns exists, right? Like we have to just keep mentioning him. Um, and then later we get more of the drama continuing between
I love
Sammy
this.
and KO and the Bloodline, so that's not ending. Sammy and Jay talk, and we've talked about this for so long because it was like 8 months, right? 8, 9 months of this story.
They're brothers.
It's just so good. Like Jay has come such a long way in just in his talking. No matter if it's a promo, whether it's like a backstage segment, he just like I already credit Sammy enough. Sammy needs to be an actor after wrestling
Oh,
because
I
he's just is
yeah.
so good at being believable. But basically Sammy was mocking Jay for being like, like you just won this pointless match and you're like dedicating it to Roman, like you're such an idiot, basically, and saying like,
I
don't you think
love
that's
that.
kind of weird? And he said, you're not going to be winning the tag team titles on Friday. And why do you think Roman would want his name attached to that? And Jay is like, why do you care? And Sammy's like, because I feel bad. I'm like, Sammy is me. Like, when someone clearly doesn't give a shit about you anymore, and you're just like, oh, well, I still feel bad because you're just like a nice person, but the person has like kicked your ass and like blocked you and like, done whatever. And you're still just like, oh, but I want the best for them. And the person's just like, I fucking hate you. Like, why are you still here? That's like how that's like the dynamic. That's how I am though. Like, I give you chance after chance. But anyway, sneak
Are
peek
we
into my
opening
life.
that forbidden door?
No. Um, and then Jay just tells him, stop caring. Okay. You made your own decision. I've made mine. Then Jay, talking with the Bloodline, aka Solo and Jimmy, tells them that he was also just talking to Sammy. And Jimmy is like, WTF, brother? What were you doing? Why are you talking to him? And he gets all pissed. And this is where I think some coolness starts happening. Solo like puts his hand on him and is just like, it's all right, man. Like, calm down. And I was like, we are seeing the beginnings of Solo becoming the new tribal chief, guys. If this is what ends up happening, I need y'all to credit me for predicting this months ago, because I did.
We give credit
I
where credit's due here.
Yeah, and I feel like that was just that was very Roman Reigns esque. I do think eventually we're gonna see like Solo and Roman versus the Usos. I think that's what's gonna happen. But that was very Roman, don't you think? Like, just calm down. It's all right.
Yeah.
Like, that's
I thought it
cool.
was yeah, to me it was very like Solo knows way more than he's leading on.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like this was him saying like let it go. Like let him go off a little bit because all
Yeah.
that's going to do is he's going to run his mouth like he usually does. And then
Mhm.
Solo's going to return back to Roman Reigns
Yeah.
who I'm just saying it now. I think Solo was sent by The Rock.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And that's where he'll go and then he'll break off and you have like who's the real tribal chief? Well, the Rock's can help Solo become the real tribal chief, setting up Rock Reigns 40. You're welcome.
Fantasy booking.
Pretty
But
good at it.
anyway, I like that. Obviously this is like playing into Solo getting a solo run.
A
So I love it. Then later we get some more drama. Jimmy confronts Sammy and it's like, stop talking to us. Like, what are you doing? And then he also just starts manipulating him and saying, why are you doubting us, or why are you saying this and that? Like, you should be doubting your brother Kevin. Like, he doesn't have your back. You think the second you lose those titles, like, he's not going to turn on you? Like, you should be worrying about yourself. Blah 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 blah. Um, so I think it's interesting. I think the main reason that this is continuing is because Roman's not around. I think that's what it is, because the only thing that made sense post Mania was to have Kevin Owens and Sammy feud a little bit, maybe have one rematch or whatever for the titles with the Usos, and then that's it. Like, it was just kind of like, okay, we're done. Like, everything that you felt like could happen already played out. Like, Sammy already had a title shot. Kevin had a title shot. They went against the Usos at WrestleMania. They won. Roman had a match at WrestleMania and he won. The only thing that I felt like made sense to happen after that was to have Roman have some issue with the bloodline and the eventual breakup or whatever. This I feel like is filler, because who knows when Roman's going to come back. So this is something that they know has done well. So, like, why don't we just keep doing it, because people are still interested.
Yeah, you could. There's so many layers to the bloodline story. You could keep it going till the next Mania if you really wanted to. I
With
mean,
Roman.
you could do it without Ro. Well,
No, Roman is not sitting at home as double champion for another year. Don't even put that out into the universe. That's so
Roman
rude.
Reigns misses WrestleMania 40 because he's too tired.
No. Oh my god. Okay. Then let's get into Rey Mysterio versus Damian Priest. And then
Booyaka!
that led to the crazy announcement from Bad Bunny. So my initial thoughts of this was, I'm loving that Damian Priest is getting so much singles action. I love it so much. But you know something that stood out to me, and maybe it's not that big of a deal, but it stood out to me. Finn came out without the Judgment Day. Damian came out with without the Judgment Day. They had a segment with Dominic in the back, but Dominic never came out. Rhea wasn't around. And I'm like, that I don't think it really means anything, but I felt significant, because anytime one of them was speaking, they all came out with them. So I just thought it was kind of interesting that we didn't see any Judgment Day
Interesting
together.
is, yeah. I would agree that it's interesting. I also like that they are doing it alone.
Yeah.
That makes them a lot stronger as a unit when they go out alone. I know that's a little nonsense, but hear me out. Because look at what happened. Like, Damian Priest was like, no Bad Bunny, Damian Priest wins that match, whatever. Okay, that's what your thought is as the fan.
Yeah.
Because Bad Bunny comes out, sets up that match at Backlash, boom. All right. No need for Finn to be out there.
Yeah.
Cody versus Finn. I'll only just briefly touch upon this.
Well, we were going to talk about it, but
all I'm getting at is that it was a Finn Cody moment. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't even have to talk about the match to get the point that you just wanted to see Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor, because they both are top guys needing that, kind of step up in their own way. I know I did this design last week, where it's a little still of that, where they just need to face each other. Finn loses. He still goes up because the Judgment Day is rising. Their stock's rising. But then Cody gets that win, legitimizes himself again, that he can get wins over guys like Finn Balor. There it is.
I agree. So basically, it was a good match. I mean, you knew that it would. It's nothing that we haven't seen already, because Rey and Judgment Day have been going at it for months at this point. And basically, I would say, you're paying attention to the match, but we're just waiting for Bad Bunny to show up. They kept teasing it. I mean, they even showed in the middle of the match a view from the car. Like, so stupid.
I love that. That's one of my favorite things in wrestling, when they get there at 9:47.
Yeah. Or it's like back when it used to go on until 11:06. You remember, like, the Raw would end at like 11:06, 11:07, and it was like the person would show up at like 10:59, and you're like, what? Like, what? Like, literally at the last minute when they're not even supposed to still be on air, but whatever.
I want to go to work for a minute and get paid.
Yeah, must be
that
nice.
really fucked up my view of work. I'll tell you that.
So, the match ends because Damian throws a chair at Rey, and he ends up getting disqualified. Sarah. And then Bad Bunny's music hits, which I love how he comes out to his own music.
Not only his own music, he comes out to the song Booker T.
I know, but that's amazing. Like, I love it. It's like, and why isn't Booker T with him? Like, I know he's in the music video, but it would just be like, it would be cool. So he comes out with a kendo stick, ready to roll. Gets to the ring and eventually hits Damian with it. They brawl for a bit. It gets over to the announcer's table. And Bad Bunny gets on the table, grabs a mic, and says that he is no longer hosting Backlash, that he will now be having a street fight
Hey,
with
cabrón.
Damian Priest.
I love it.
Um, I was so excited about that. I'm getting a little bit more intrigued by Backlash now. A little, like
There
I
it
told.
is.
I mean,
There
I'm
it
not, I'm
is.
not saying that necessarily. Um, I'm not saying that that's the match that like put it over for me or something, but um, I it's another moment for me to credit guys like Bad Bunny and their dedication to wrestling, because how many other dudes that have limited experience would be like suggesting or even agreeing to doing something like a street fight where literally anything goes. Like I just don't know many celebrities or, people who don't have a wrestling background coming in like, yeah, sure, I'll get hit with steps and kendo sticks and chairs and go through a table. Like whatever they want to do to me is cool. That's crazy.
It's insane. I would suggest to everyone here to watch David Arquette versus Nick Gage in a death match, because you won't see any of that, but you're gonna see a more cinematic masterpiece with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. It is always great to see friends turn rivals in the
Mhm.
ring. I
Yeah.
mean, it's well noted, they're friends, whatever. It's why I brought them
Yeah.
there, and they're gonna put on a very good, entertaining match. And I mean, I watched Bad Bunny in the ring. He's not bad.
No,
I
not
I,
at
I
all.
would say he's not the athletic freak that Logan Paul is, but
Different
Bad Bunny's more
backgrounds.
of a wrestler in the
Yeah.
sense that he wants to learn like he's a fan of wrestling, and the
Yeah.
fact that he was, infused in the story by doing something of a wrestling move where he takes the chain away, and it's the respect thing, and it's with Ray. Like this is going to be a banger of a match, and for a fact, I know we hate interferences, but it's a street fight, anything goes. The LWO coming to Bad Bunny's aid.
They're gonna go wild.
Puerto Rico, they're gonna blow the roof off that place.
Imagine Zelina's reception.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome.
That's gonna be awesome. But what I did like about this too, we assumed that it was going to be. I mean, they kind of had teased it for a while that it was going to be Ray and Bad Bunny versus Damien and Dom. So I kind of wonder why that is not a thing anymore. I'm wondering if maybe Dominic is injured or something, and that's why they did this sudden change, which I'm fine with, because I think this also says a lot about how they feel about Damien. Because I don't think this was just, oh, let's give him a match with his former friend. This was like, I mean, this is going to be the one of the biggest matches of the night simply because it's in Puerto Rico and it's Bad Bunny.
Bad
And of
Bunny.
all the people that Bad Bunny's going to face, he's facing Damian Priest. Like, I feel like that says something about how they feel about Priest, which I think is cool because, as I've said, I'm a big fan of the Judgment Day. I wasn't a big fan of Damian Priest when he first came out, but I love that he loves the bad guy just like me. So,
I mean, he does
I know I love it
this.
so much. I'm like obsessed. I'm glad that he still does that even as a bad guy, you know because sometimes they would be like, "Oh, he's just like being a good guy and that's what he's doing." Cuz when people change their entrances, it's like, "No, it's not that serious." But
Yeah,
anyway, David's teasing me. Pretty Dudley's on.
I just
Okay,
turned
anyway.
it on right now.
So
Oh my
then
God,
just
they got chains.
what?
Pretty Deadly's got chains, and they're
Oh,
about to whip the family.
okay, that's good. Anyway, so just quick thoughts on the rest of the show because I did want to talk about some other things. One thing was we had Trish Stratus backstage. Um, doing a little promo talking about why Becky wasn't there. Allegedly, Becky is dealing with like a foot injury, so that's apparently why she's not there. But Trish was just there to further their feud, which seemingly does not have an end in sight at this point, which we kind of had talked about that maybe they were going to be pushing this out. But I do find it interesting that this is another one of those big feuds that's going on right now that is one-sided at this point.
Yeah,
It's kind of like Cody. Like Cody's feud with Brock Lesnar is Cody talking to Brock Lesnar in a camera. because like Brock came out, beat his ass, wasn't there for the next week, came out the next week looking like the Undertaker circa 1992, stood there, laughed, and left, and then he's still not there the following week. He's gonna be here next week, but he has to be because it's a go home show. But I just thought it was funny that this is just like, he's feuding with himself, similarly to how he was like feuding with Paul Heyman leading up to his match at Mania. And obviously this is out of Trish's hands, but she's feuding with Becky when Becky's not there, and apparently they don't have plans to use Lita for the foreseeable future. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I just
then
don't.
we got
yeah, you go. Yes.
Go,
No, I don't really have some thoughts on this, so perfect.
Okay. The LWO got new music.
I have thoughts on this. I loved it.
Me too.
When I heard Viva La Raza hit, I went like, what?
I know.
So excited.
I loved that, and it seemed like the reception was positive because, there's a lot of things going on right now, like the Guerreros, and I even just saw that someone had written a story, I didn't read it, about WWE. I don't know how to they used a specific term that I'm trying not to use. They were like overly using, like selling Eddie Guerrero's name like negatively. And so I was like, that story comes out and then we hear Viva La Raza, and so I'm like, oh God, but I don't think it's bad. I loved it. I think the music is so much better. The direction that they've taken Legado del Fantasma, A++, like the amount of LWO shirts in the audience was incredible.
Mine's coming on Saturday.
I know, but I mean, even at the show, there was a ton of them. So whoever thought about this, I've said before, kudos to you.
Brilliant.
Great move.
And people forget, Eddie Guerrero is the OG creator of the LWO.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
So for them to bring it back and then have Ray lead it, I don't care what Kerwin White has to say about Rey Mysterio. Okay, that's travel. Yeah, there it is. You got it last second.
Oh my God!
At the buzzer.
Well, what
it's annoying. Like, sorry, but he's putting a good name to Eddie, and there's not one person I feel like in the wrestling world that thinks negatively of Eddie Guerrero. They think only praise, and obviously he's best friend of Rey Mysterio. Like, it's so like, dude, find another slant or touch grass because you're really just so inept with the situation.
Well, because what I was confused about is people were like, he was being a heel, he was in character. I'm like, he's not employed. He is not like currently actively wrestling. Like, he's not in character. And then he came out and said, oh, he was just being like a bad guy and he was in character. And I'm like, but what company are you currently wrestling in? Like, you can't just be like, oh, I was in character in this interview. Are you active? Are you a part of a roster right now and you're a bad guy? So like, oh, I'm gonna just keep doing interviews as if I'm that character. No, Chavo, at this point, you're like helping younger talent get over, like, you're working with young wrestlers and whatever. Like, you're not an active talent that people are thinking about. So when he comes out and starts slamming Ray, specifically Ray, people are going to take it like you're shitting on him for the sake of shitting on him because you're not relevant right now. Like, it was so bizarre to me. But
I'm trying to. Oh, all right. He was in All Elite for a bit.
I know, but he's not like currently, like, he's not on TV. He's not a part of like active programming, from what I understand. Like, he's not known right now for being.
He's in Ring of Honor, and he was Bandito's manager at Supercard of Honor. Okay, so he's in. Wait, no, that was from 2022.
Yeah, so whatever. It doesn't matter.
Different year.
It was lame.
Okay, but point is, he's irrelevant.
Yeah. Then we had Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley, Bronson Reed. Austin Theory's new shirt, very reminiscent of Cena's HLR shirt that was black with red, white, and blue. I think that was intentional.
And I hate that it's ATL and it's Austin Theory Live. Fuck you.
whatever. I think that they could have gone at different colors. Like, I get it, you're United States champion, but like I don't get it. I did love his line to Lashley though, and Lashley was like, "Oh, like I requested this match. Like I'm good at requesting matches. Like I get what I want." And Theory was like, "If you're so good at requesting matches, where was your match at WrestleMania?" And I was like, "Oh, brother, he got you there."
Got him.
Um and then I love how Bronson just keeps appearing out of nowhere, like during these moments. Like Lashley's in a match, and then all of a sudden, this giant man just shows up out of nowhere. And I'm like, how does he show up out of nowhere when he's as large as he is? Like, this is not a man that should be able to just sneak by people and be like, oh, here I am. Like, I don't know. I just, yeah,
Bronson.
it's weird. Yeah. Okay. Then we had the Alpha Academy and Maximum Male Models. They're continuing to do their whole thing.
This is
Maxine was
my
like, "Don't
favorite.
worry, Otis, you're going
This
where
is
I am in the draft."
this is my
Um,
favorite thing
and
on
then we
Raw.
had
It's comedic.
Gable lost his match, and
He's okay.
Otis and Maxine were not happy. So I wonder, do you think they're gonna split up Alpha Academy from where Maximum Male Models go in the draft?
Otis pulls.
I know,
That
but
man.
I'm saying, do you think they're going to keep them separate, not split up a Alpha Academy? I mean, keep Alpha Academy on one show and Maximum Male Models on another.
Oh no, no,
You
because
think
they're
they're
too
going to the
connected.
same?
Yeah, they're too connected. They they,
Okay.
they got a good thing going. They got a really good thing going that you can really. We'll slow roast this.
So then we had also Seth Rollins come face to face finally with Omos after their match was randomly made and people didn't understand why. The crowd was insanely loud for Seth. And as we said earlier, he hyped up the new title really well. And then Omos comes out and MVP lets him know, hey, like we are the ones that requested this match against you because you were so accomplished and beating you would be a huge deal for Omos's career. And then Seth was like, blah, 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 going into his all Sethy thing. And then he's like, Omos is a once in a generation talent because he was born that way, but I am a once in a generation talent because I made myself that way. And I was like, yes, honey, and your cheetah print jumpsuit with an open
Whatever
back,
the fuck
with
that
an
was.
open keyhole back, like the manly man that he is. We love it.
Unbelievable.
And he said he's going to take down Omos at Backlash. And then when Omos awakes from his 3-hour nap, it was very specific, 3-hour nap, the arena would still be singing Seth's song. So I'm not particularly invested in this match, but it's Seth. So would I watch it? Yeah. I like Omos too as a human being. So like I have a soft spot for him, but
Oh, I think they're gonna put on a very
oh yeah.
good I'm gonna go quality
Yeah.
match with what they're given.
Then I love that they were also still pushing the dysfunction within Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Matt Riddle. They go to the back, and Matt Riddle is going into some long spiel about whatever he talks about. And Kevin Owens was visibly hurting.
I felt this
Basically,
on a spiritual level.
this was me. That would be me if I had to sit there and listen to Matt Riddle speak, because
That's how
I
I
would,
feel when I talk about anything with my friends. It's just like I just go on tangents, and then
yeah,
there's like, where have you been? He's been
yeah,
talking about this for so long.
yeah.
Where have you been?
So
So I felt
Kevin
that.
gets pissed that he was, first of all, in the back stuck with Riddle for so long, and asks him where he was. And then he gets mad when Sammy said that he had been talking to the Usos again. And an interesting aspect to that was the ending with Matt Riddle was like, I don't know what you're going through, bro. And I didn't even think about it either. Like Sammy's face was me. Like we'd be like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I was like, did he say like? Maybe he says I was also thrown off by this.
Yeah, so I liked how he's like, when I was paired up with my friend, my bro, Randy Orton, everyone always said that he was gonna turn on me, but he didn't because we're bros. And Kevin won't do that because you guys are bros. So don't even worry about it. And then Sammy was like, thank you, bro. And then he was like, anytime, and just walks away. And it's like,
I thought that was a really nice moment.
See, like, this is what I
That's a
mean.
really nice little.
I don't enjoy Matt Riddle, but
Clearly.
I appreciate this more serious direction that they are going in, because I've said it for months that they needed to do this with him, because this over the top 420 bro gimmick was not going to last that long, because people are going to get tired of it. Not to mention, I'm sure Riddle would get tired of it. I mean,
Yeah.
are you tired of riding on a scooter and, jumping with your flip flops and like rainbow llamas on the screen? Like, come on. Like,
He needs a new theme song. I'm
yeah,
a
but they
fan of
really like the
the.
bro, bro. Yeah, I don't know.
But like he
I
needs
don't
something
mind
like
it
a little bit
because
more.
I don't mind it because people don't really like LA Knights. I love LA Knights.
Oh, I
But
love LA Knights.
it's because it's so different, you know?
Night.
And then the last little piece I want to talk about was Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor. Obviously, Cody starts the show and doing his typical thing, which I have to say,
Oh.
Cody, Cody is like, uh, you can just tell he's still not used to having this warm reception every single week. Like, you can tell when it's somebody who gets that, who's had that type of reaction from fans for a really long time, that it doesn't really phase them anymore. But you can tell that Cody is like genuinely thankful and appreciative, and it actually like touches him every single week. Like, he's not become jaded by it yet, if that makes any sense.
No,
And I
yeah.
think that's really cool. um and I even saw someone say that it feels like they're going to be pushing him to be like this generation's John Cena, and I could totally see that, because he's so over with the fans and doesn't have to try. He doesn't have to do literally anything, and I think that's what worked against him in AEW. The biggest reason is because he was so involved in the backstage stuff and like the creation of the show, of the brand, of the product, of the talent, that a lot of fans took issue with that and they held it against him. And that was why a lot of the time, I can't speak to everything, obviously. I'm just saying I think that's something that hurt him in the long run. And that was something that he didn't anticipate. And that's why I think it wasn't difficult for him necessarily to step down, because he wanted to be in this position that he's in WWE, and he's finally there, but it's like still surreal to him, it feels.
It's insane how each and every week the woe gets louder and
I know.
louder.
Last
That
night
is
though,
the
they were
best.
singing the entire song. They
Oh, I
sang
didn't
the
hear. I
entire song. Watch it back. Watch it back. You can hear them singing it at least up until the first woe. I stopped paying attention because after that. But you can hear them singing every single word up until that. It's insane. Like, this is a guy that, like I said to my sister recently, that song is going to become one of the most legendary songs like in wrestling history. I feel like there's certain songs that it's like, okay, Randy Orton, John Cena, whatever, like these certain ones that you just are
the
like,
game.
you can't ever change your song, right? This feels like one that, Cody, you can't ever change that, and that's going to go down as like one of the best ever, I feel like, because it was made for him. That's the thing, is when there are these songs that are made for them specifically, I feel like those are the ones that hit the most,
Oh yeah,
rather than
easily.
they just grab a random song or whatever. But
Yeah.
anyway, the match was great. I mean, I
It's
have
just
nothing
always
else to say.
great to see Finn Balor versus Cody Rhodes on Monday
I love
Night
it.
Raw, and it
I
be
love it.
a banger after banger after banger
After banger! After banger! After banger! After
Oh yeah, baby.
banger. That's the type of match. I love it. I would like to see more of those random pairings in a
Yeah.
match, especially if we get the draft or with the draft coming up.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah. So anyway, that was Raw.
That was Raw, guys. What do you think? Let us know what you thought in the comments below,
Oh yeah, I
or
was gonna see
even
if
hit
I
us up on the socials. Before
did
you
it.
hit us up, hold on, let's backtrack a little bit. Whoa, what? You got to look.
I just wanted to double check the comments. Richard says, I think Sammy and Kevin win on Friday, which makes me think, are the Raw and SmackDown belts going to be split in the draft, or are the tag team divisions going to stay on one brand? I don't know. They didn't address that. And I feel like they would have to stay together because I don't know how you would split those fairly.
Yeah.
You would be like, when Charlotte and Becky switched brands, so they had to switch championships, which was a whole mess. I don't even want to get into that, but that's not the same because it's not the same because that was equal. This was like, no, they literally won the undisputed tag team titles. I don't know that you can't just like drop them,
Yeah. No, I don't get that either.
Micah says that I am awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ron84
Needed
says that
that.
he's just coming in to say hi. So hey, what's up? And then David
Whoa.
let us know that Pretty Deadly was on. So thank you. But I just wanted to make sure we got to those comments because they're quite active today.
We had some great comments from the peeps. We love to hear from the peeps, and we'd love for the peeps to go and subscribe and follow us as well. You can start by going to Sarah's YouTube channel, Sarah Marshall XO, and hitting that subscribe button. Like the stream and go check all those clips. All right. If you don't have an hour and 10 minutes and 54 seconds to listen to the entire conversation that Sarah and I have about Raw, SmackDown, or just anything wrestling, what you can do is just go to Sarah's YouTube channel and check out all the clips, topic specific, and, helps us get those views and get to that next point where we can get to WrestleMania. All right, Sarah, that's the goal.
I know we're more than halfway to 1,000 subs.
Oh, there you go. What's the number?
Well, we're at 575. I mean, in order to start getting money on YouTube, though, you need 1,000 subs, and then you also need like 4,000 watch hours in under a year.
All right,
and
well,
we're not even halfway there.
Let's go. Get us paid to do this so we can go to WrestleMania, because that is the goal for the year. And then let us know your progress of getting us there by following us on social media, on Twitter to start, at Pat_Pitts and at SMarshXO. And then on Instagram, at Pitsy35 and at SMarsh_. And then the podcasts. Not only is this a live stream that we do, but Sarah, I'm actually thinking about turning this into an episode for the pod, just because there's a lot of talk about the WWE title, and the new change and whatnot. So I think I might do that.
Like over almost 40 minutes on that, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that could be an entire pod in itself. I mean, look what Busted Open does.
Yeah.
So, so go check out the pod on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. Just remember to hit that subscribe button. Leave that 5-star review and a comment. All right, we need some positive comments. A little bit of a mishap, and we need to work our way and keep moving through the shit. And that does it for us. We'll be back tomorrow for the draft. Sarah and I are drafting our rosters, and boy, howdy, am I excited. So join us for that. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We'll see you next episode. Go Celts, baby.